게임 블록체인 기반 스타 아틀라스의 강연 청해 듣도록 하겠습니다. 그 전에 소개 영상이 하나 있다고 하니까요. 영상 간단히 보시면서 집중해 주시면 감사하겠습니다. 큰 박수 부탁드립니다.
Miles, the station reported a distress signal last night. They think it came from your dad's ship.
The signal, it came from past the outer ring. How is that even possible?
His ship has been reported missing for 20 years now. Pretty sure he's not coming back.
We go there, we might not come back.
What is this place?
This is going to change everything. They found out we have the map. They're gonna kill us for it.
If that's the case, there's only one thing we can do.
My name is Anthony Mason, and I'm the head of marketing intelligence at Star Atlas. I'm very excited to be here in Busan, and I know that our CEO, Michael Wagner, wishes he could be here as well. And he's actually upstairs on a Zoom with Joe. And I would like to introduce him as he will be presenting virtually from Las Vegas.
Hey, Michael. How's it going?
It's great, Joe. Good to see you, man. And hello, Busan. And Anthony, great introduction. I appreciate it. And yes, I do wish I could be there in person. Unfortunately, scheduling didn't work, but very excited for the conversation tonight.
Yeah, we're excited to learn more about, I guess, what Star Atlas is doing and all the hype that's building around it recently. So I guess just to start, could you give a simple introduction of Star Atlas and how the project gets started and kind of what you're doing with it?
Sure. Yeah. Star Atlas is really emerging from the concept of play to earn and blockchain gaming. It was really conceptualized in mid 2020. Now, this is on the back of nearly a decade worth of experience operating in the blockchain and cryptocurrency space. But very, very broadly speaking, we're looking at developing out a very high quality gaming experience. So a so-called AAA quality gaming experience integrated with blockchain and financial incentives capable as a result of the integration of blockchain. We are a massively multiplayer online game, virtual universe and metaverse centered around space exploration, territory control, and political domination. Some of the blockchain elements that make this interesting and really disruptive to the traditional high quality gaming genre is the integration of non-fungible tokens, so NFTs. This provides true asset ownership to our players, as well as two crypto native tokens. Through these tokens, we're able to deliver the capability of monetizing time spent within this universe. So the first of those is Atlas, which is an in-game transactional currency and medium of exchange. So all of the earnings in the game, as well as all of the cost structures within the game, are denominated in Atlas, as well as a unique take on governance. And we do that through the delivery of Polis, which is the Star Atlas Dao. The DAO is going to empower and enable people to be influential in the long-term development and design of the universe itself, of the metaverse. And then, in addition to that, there's also a number of decentralized finance components that we've integrated into the game or will be integrating that includes things like lending protocols, enabling a true sharing economy. So capital deployers, people that are looking to purchase assets inside Star Atlas without the intention of operating themselves, will be able to utilize these DeFi protocols to lend those to other players, generate residual income for themselves, and also provide an opportunity to those players to work, produce, and generate income for themselves inside the metaverse.
That's pretty nuts. I know we've already seen a few, I guess, like pay to play or earn like while you're playing games, but it seems like you guys are taking that to a whole another level. What made you guys want to build on top of the Solana blockchain while you're working on this?
Yeah, we did a fairly substantial amount of analysis in advance of selecting Solana. There's quite a few elements that led us to selecting Solana. First and foremost, though, we had to identify tech that was highly scalable. So in the case of Solana, what leads to scalability is, in addition to the consensus algorithm, is the fact that it is currently capable of greater than 50,000 transactions per second. So very high transaction throughput. It's very low cost at less than a penny per transaction. And very importantly for the gamer user base is low latency. So in the case of Solana, this is sub-second finality. It's 400 milliseconds to reflect changes or state changes in the blockchain on Solana. And so our ambition is to develop out and build much or all of the logic of the game on chain, which leads to a high degree of transparency, as well as a high degree of interactivity and interoperability with other protocols that are building on Solana. And so, we're thinking about developing out this game that can grow not to thousands of users or millions of users, but potentially to a global audience. And we can get into why that is, but we needed a base layer protocol that was capable of scaling globally at web scale and satisfying user demand in a very efficient fashion. And so Solana, tech was there. The team comes from a high pedigree of tech background. And then, at the time that we started conceptualizing this in mid 2020, and really leading into conversations with Solana in August or September of 2020, we identified them as really an early adopter opportunity and the potential of collaborating with a very promising blockchain. And so there were only maybe 20 projects, 25 projects building on Solana at the time, no gaming projects at all. And in fact, in 2020, blockchain gaming was still in some of its earliest stages. And so we wanted to work with them because we could leverage the potential of their marketing capabilities and their existing user base to attract people to Star Atlas, but at the same time, understanding that we have this enormous potential to bring new users, not only to Solana, but into crypto in general. My belief is that blockchain gaming and this new paradigm of crypto integrated game environments and the metaverse itself will lead to one of the largest mass migrations of users into cryptocurrency. But so really the tech was there, the team was great. We were early adopters and users, which led to some additional support that we were able to receive. And then also seeing some, endorsement from institutional players like FTX and Alameda Research and the group behind the consortium that is Project Serum, the decentralized exchange protocol on Solana. And having seen all of that, we thought it was a very promising protocol to move forward with, more so than any of the other layer ones that exist out there. And I think in hindsight now, it was one of the best decisions that we've made. We've seen the enormous growth across the ecosystem, and now we get to take advantage of all of that innovation that is taking place, particularly in DeFi, where these are protocols and primitives that we have a deep desire to integrate within the game and further empower our players and user base with.
Yeah, and you talked about onboarding users. That's something I'm really interested in. Like, what's the strategy to help users get into the game? Because a lot of people are going with, like you guys, token first and NFTs 1st and then game later. There's some other projects like game first. So can you kind of expound upon your strategy and how you plan on moving and onboarding users in the future?
Of course. So this was, I mean, we essentially came straight to market from conceptualization. We did vet out the concept with some of these institutional players. In full transparency, FTX was the group that funded our seed round. They purchased tokens from us initially, so we had some validation in the concept itself. But our go-to-market strategy following that was to initially target crypto native users. It was kind of important given the complexity of operating across the blockchain ecosystem as a whole. So we were looking for people who understand how blockchain worked, had a wallet set up previously, whether that was MetaMask or some other protocols, web implementation, Web3 implementation of their wallet. And also was kind of comfortable with the risk of volatility associated with operating across these ecosystems. So we targeted that user base first, but it very rapidly evolved into mainstream gamers looking to participate in the potential of the vision that we've laid out to people. Now, that happened probably faster than we would have expected and maybe faster than we were prepared for. But I think it's just incredibly inspiring and encouraging to see the amount of interest that lies out there in that traditional gaming demographic. Now, a further component of our go-to-market strategy, though, is not really to stop with the gamer user base. We're building out a concept that is, with this AAA quality gaming of being really the immediate entry point. It's in a way a Trojan horse that attracts people to the metaverse itself. I think we've probably all seen the news surrounding Facebook's transition and rebranding to Meta, and their vision for the metaverse is very experiential based. Now, ours is as well, but our first experience is sophisticated gameplay mechanics through Star Atlas, through space exploration, through the discovery of the universe itself, right? So going into the future, we don't see limitations around even a mainstream gaming user base. We actually believe that the metaverse itself, the product that we're creating, incorporating gaming, social experiences, new economics, new forms of governance, displacement of e-commerce and social media, we see that the global population is a potential user. Whether people want to enter into the metaverse and actually play the game that we're building or not, they might want to enter the metaverse simply to interact with their friends that might live all over the world, right? And that's kind of like the future of where we're going with all of this. But our marketing strategy, as I said, started with the crypto user, rapidly evolved into the gamer, and where we see it going into the future is helping people understand how blockchain works, what all of the benefits underlying that actually are, and bringing them in, educating them on these advantages, and getting them incorporated into a new economic movement.
Cool. And you've talked about, I keep hearing this word, this global user base. Can you talk about some areas where you guys have seen a lot of interest, whether that's somewhere in the Americas or in Asia? And then as a follow-up question to that, do you guys have any interesting things that you want to do when you start bringing things into Korea?
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, big shout out to Korea, because we're seeing a lot of users coming from that region. I mean, Asian region in general is definitely a hot area for us, but I would say one of the, I don't know if I would say most attractive, but where we're seeing some of the larger user growth is really across emerging markets, to be honest with you. And so this is areas like, South America, Latin America. We're seeing it in Southeast Asia, in India, in the Middle East, in some parts of China. I mean, areas where there are disparate economic systems in place, where potentially systemic oppression exists. And what we're able to deliver is an entirely new economic system that people can participate in. And so it's not surprising that people all over the world want to take part in the metaverse. It's going to lead to this massive economic boom, this entirely unique labor market that matches capital from all over the world to labor and producers. And people are going to have opportunities that they simply have not had available to them because, we're creating a system that eliminates geographic borders. And so anybody anywhere in the world can actually participate in this system, and it's going to be highly competitive because all of the friction of employment is essentially gone, right? So those are, those emerging markets, the developing nations, are definitely places where we're seeing massive growth. And I think it will lead to this great redistribution of capital and wealth and opportunity to people all over the world.
Awesome. And you guys already have a really strong community with your Discord and your Telegrams and all your other socials. What are you guys seeing is the key to building up that strong community where you have users that are really engaged and are excited about your product?
I think it really comes down to just listening to them, right? I mean, we operate under this model of universal dream management. So it's kind of presenting a vision, getting feedback on the vision, incorporating user feedback at a very early stage into that vision, modifying the way that we develop, and then creating the products that people truly want to, take part in. And so we've done that from the very beginning. We've always listened to what the community has to say, and we've modified a lot of our deliverables. And there have been many over the course of the year, by the way. Our very first product was in April of this year, which was the very first NFT marketplace on Solana. Now, it was exclusive to our own products, but that was developed for the launch of a multimedia meta poster campaign that we called Rebirth, Genesis of a Metaverse. But throughout this process, we've always taken the user's feedback, the community's feedback into account, and we've modified the way that we execute based on that information. And so I think the community really appreciates the fact that their voice is heard. And that's simply done so through Discord and through Telegram and through Twitter to date. But what's really interesting and where that's going to be more impactful is through the execution of the DAO, the Star Atlas Decentralized Autonomous Organization, going into the future, where there's essentially a contractual relationship between us, Star Atlas, as a design and development studio of the game and of the metaverse, and users' stake in the development process itself. And so through the ownership of Polis token, they're able to contribute to governance and the long-term design and development of the metaverse in the game itself. So individuals would have the ability to essentially submit proposals, and the rest of the community can vote on those proposals. And based on the outcome of that voting system, we would actually implement changes related to feature releases, so feature requests, related to asset release schedules, related to broad economic policy across the metaverse, things like, how many assets can be released over time, or what is the broad inflation rate across the metaverse. And so we are really building with the thesis and philosophy of decentralization, ownership, and inclusion from the start. And that's what I think the community is really standing behind, is the simple fact that their voice is being heard, and we've developed policy as a company to account for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's definitely a theme we're seeing across crypto, and it's definitely enabling people to be more involved and to be a bigger part of the things in which they're stakeholders. It's evolving beyond just being owning some shares in something and something much bigger. To kind of go on that, a lot of people have been asking me at the events, when is the game coming out? When can I start using these NFTs? Can you give us some outline of at least what's going on and how things will go moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it is a very large vision. Everything that we're doing is complex individually, and even more so when you start to combine and aggregate all of the intersections of what we're working on. So, AAA gaming, as an example, building out a mainstream title typically takes 5 to 7 years. That's kind of the development life cycle. So, I would kind of caveat that and say we aren't delivering in the traditional fashion in any way, and I'll expand upon that. But AAA gaming is very difficult. Building anything Web3 with blockchain is difficult. Operating and building on top of a beta state blockchain like Solana is also difficult. Serum also in beta state, right? So we're at the very emerging edge of technological development in a lot of categories, and we're bringing all of these together in a single product. So it will take a lot of research development and a lot of time to refine the product and make sure it's secure, make sure it's safe for our users, and make sure it's well balanced. So that's kind of my blanket preface to this conversation. Now, with all of that being said, we're taking a unique approach. We are delivering on an iterative schedule, which is to say that we're essentially releasing modules over time that give interactivity and playability to our users. And so the very first experience is likely to come out at the beginning of December. And that is through one product that we're building, which is our mini game. So we're actually building two concurrent products. The first is a browser version of the game, which accomplishes a few things for us. It allows us to create the smart contracts, the on-chain programs, which effectively represent the game logic. So, the gameplay mechanics, how do you play the game? All of that logic is built into a smart contract, an on-chain program, and delivered to the user. And that's what allows them to earn. So that's important, but it also allows us to deliver on a expeditious pace to the user base. We can build the browser game faster than we can build the fully immersive world. So we're building this Unreal project, the mini game project. Concurrently, we are building out a fully immersive world in Unreal Engine 5. Now, UE5 is amazing technology. It's, cinematic quality graphics, it's real-time rendering, it's kind of low compute requirements, but it will allow the user to experience a world that is almost indiscernible from reality. And in particular, when we get to the virtual reality implementation of this, somebody sitting at their desktop can feel like they're really living in the universe that is Star Atlas. So we're also building that at the same time. Talked a little bit about the mini game, first features coming out. We have an extensive roadmap behind that. I won't go in depth on what that roadmap looks like, but we have published that publicly. So anybody is welcome to go view the roadmap and see updates in real time, live, as we update that based on our delivery and execution of the product. The Unreal Engine version of the game, we anticipate the first module of that to be released sometime in Q1 next year. And that is going to be limited functionality, but we think it will be really cool. We call it the Showroom Module. And what that is going to enable for the player is live visualization of the scale of ships in this game. I think what, as beautiful as all of our concept art is that we've delivered to date, it doesn't do justice to the actual scale of the project itself and the scale of the items that will exist in game. I'm very fortunate in that I get to see some of this stuff, well before anybody else does. And Danny Floyd, our chief product officer, was giving us an internal demo of the Showroom Module. And some of the ships that are out there are kind of individual person size. So the Pierce X4, for example, kind of a motorbike spaceship. So you see that item, and then you start to scale up through the various ship classes, and there are a number of them, but large, capital, commander, Titan, mothership. But it's so amazing to sit and look at these ships in real scale, where a commander ship relative to, say, a Pierce X4 or a Pierce X5 appears to be massive. And then in the background, you see the Titan class ship, which is probably 10 times the size. And it just really makes it feel real. And so in any case, this is what we're working on with the showroom. You'll be able to enter into the 3D environment. You'll be able to experience the ship models at real scale. You can configure the ships, and then you can even execute the same applications, the same functions that you're interacting with through the mini game. You'll be able to do the same through the UE game launcher client.
That is awesome. And one of the ships that I've actually noticed while I was learning more about the game was there's actually a ship called Busan. Can you talk just for like a minute or two about how that kind of came to be?
I wish I could speak more to it. I'm very fortunate in that I have a great team, both on the leadership side and just really throughout the company as a whole. Danny is the guy that is the visionary behind the game concept itself. So all of the gameplay pillars, the gameplay mechanics, the lore of the game, the creation of the assets, the naming of assets. Danny's really behind all of that. So a big thanks to him. But I think it was kind of coincidental. But I think it was a pretty fortunate coincidence.
Yeah, and it's really fun, and obviously Busan and I think all of Korea is really excited to do more with you. And kind of to finish up, because we're in the last 3 minutes, is there anything that you'd want to say to your fans and your community here growing in Korea that can help them understand like what you're doing and what you're planning on to help them be more involved and to get more out of the, I guess, the Star Atlas experience?
You know what? I mean, I just love the progressive nature of Busan from what I've kind of come to learn about it. I think that too often regulation stifles innovation, and that's a major concern across the United States right now. It's a major concern globally. I commend the city for their stance on kind of assisting with this, the development of this technology, which is truly transformative on a global scale, right? So, beyond that, I would really just add that it's one of the, I think, best strategies to execute well and succeed across Star Atlas is to operate with your community, to form guilds, to operate as a decentralized autonomous corporation, and the tools that we'll be providing to guilds. So I would encourage everybody in the community to kind of look at their neighbor and figure out a path to operating together, operating collectively, and accomplishing things within the Star Atlas metaverse together. So, sincerely appreciate the support that everybody has shown us, and in particular the interest there in Korea.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming, Michael. It was great getting to learn more about the project and really what you guys are doing with your boots on the ground, really making things happen. We'll be excited to see you hopefully next year in person, or at least soon here in Korea. And it was a great time. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Busan.
Very much looking forward to making a trip out there. So hopefully soon. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate the questions, and thank you everyone out there that's listening in.